back in next week. But I want to have a conversation with you, and I want to announce something to you. And every time I say there's an announcement, people are like, oh no, what is it? No, it's good. And it's all good, okay? There's no like, oh no, what's coming? It's all good. And some of you are not surprised. You've heard about it. God's doing great stuff here. It's a result of what God is doing. But I want to remind you of how this church is built on God's word. We model how we have church based on Jesus and his life. And what did he do? We see Jesus preaching to the crowds. Remember, Jesus would preach to whoever showed up. He didn't have his elders, disciples, or deacons or anybody like out there going like, how did you vote? Or what's your biggest sin? Oh no, you can't get in there. Look how you're dressed. Oh, sorry, you're the wrong denomination. None of that stuff. Jesus, like literally, I'm gonna preach and whoever shows up can be a part of it. And that's our Sunday mornings. We preach Jesus to whoever shows up. And you're whoever, right? Sunday mornings are a time where you can bring your friends, bring your coworkers, bring anybody, bring yourself for the first time. And many of you are here this morning, you're saying like, man, this is my first time in church in a long time. We are so glad you're here. And today I'm hoping that you hear something. I want you today to get a look behind the curtain of this church religion thing, you know? Behind all the smoke and mirrors and see what really a church is about. I want you to hear our heartbeat today. I want you to see why we do what we do. It's because of who we are and who he is. You see, Jesus showed us what it means. In Luke 15, verse 1, we find him preaching to a crowd of local people, to whoever showed up. And I want you to see something. The people that showed up, it wasn't some somber gathering of holy, frozen, chosen. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like, hey, only the who's who. It was whoever. Listen to what the gathering looked like. Luke 15, verse 1. Tax collectors and other notorious sinners often came to listen to Jesus preach. I love when it says notorious sinners. Listen, God wanted to make sure that verse was in his word. That tax collectors, and that's the worst of the worst in that culture, you know? There's a rumor we even have some tax collectors here today. You might wonder like, no? Okay. Notorious sinners. You probably know some notorious sinners. You probably were one in college if you were like me. Like you get it, right? And Jesus, it says when he's preaching, they would often come to listen. They liked Jesus, and guess what? He liked them right back. He made sure this was in there. Sinners, notorious sinners and tax collectors. And here's the bottom line. Anyone could show up and listen to Jesus preach. Anyone. And we model our Sunday gatherings after Jesus. We are here for the tax collectors. We're here for the sinners, the prodigals, the wanderers, the returners, the lost, the hurting, and the hopeless, and the burned out, and the religious, and the angry, and the seeking, and the growing. We're here for it. We're here. Whatever political party or no political party, we're here. It's for whoever. Acts 15 talks about this, and this is one of my favorite parts of the Bible. In Acts 15, it's after Jesus launched the church. Did you know the church was his idea? So Jesus launches this church, and he sends his apostles out in this time, and they're out there teaching, and they have this disagreement on who should be able to be a part of the church. So what do? What churches always do. They have a committee meeting. So they call everybody back off the mission field, and they have this big conference about, listen, there's people that want to come to church here that we don't know if we should let come to church here. They're not, doing the things. Do you know who's coming? So they listen to all this debate, one on one side, one on the other. And finally, in Acts 15, James, the brother of Jesus, steps up and he delivers a line that echoes into the future of the church and echoes and resonates in my heart as well. Listen, Acts 15, verses 19. He says, it's my judgment that we should not make it difficult for those who are far from God to come toward him. That is part of the heartbeat of who we are. We should not make it difficult for people who want to come and hear about Jesus to come and hear about Jesus. This is great news. It's great news for everybody. And you think that everyone would celebrate, but you'd be wrong. Because there's always been a group of people who saw church more of an exclusive club. I'm on the inside, they're on the outside. And a gathering, they've seen it of a gathering of exclusive club instead of a gathering for anybody and anyone. In fact, there in Luke 15, after it says the notorious sinners were there, guess what the next verse says? But the Pharisees and the teachers of the law, that's the religious folk, they were there and they muttered. And churches are famous for muttering, okay? They muttered, "This man welcomes sinners." Like they're talking about it. Do you know what they're saying? They're here in the front row and they're saying, "Do you see who's here? Matthias is here. Do you know what he does? He was at the Black Nugget last night. After midnight." I mean, literally, they're muttering about who's here. "Do you see who? She's here. I know how that guy votes. I know what like they're talking about it. This man welcomes sinners." They were unhappy about how Jesus operated, how the church operated. And I just want to make something really clear today. Any muttering in here, any rumors or muttering in the valley or the region, wherever it is, I just want to plant our flag one more time and say something to you. We welcome sinners. I want there to be no confusion. There's no club here. We stand with Jesus and we welcome sinners. Before we go any further, I want to clarify that. And here's the reason, because he welcomed me when I was a sinner. And many of you, you know what you came from. And he welcomed you. And a church made space for you. Now, some of you it didn't, and you got wounded and angry at a church of imperfect people speaking for a perfect God, and you left. And if you're back today, I'm sorry that happened. But we welcome everyone. Let me just give you another verse, Romans 15:7. "Accept each other just as Jesus accepted you. And he accepted me when I was far from him. And he accepted me before I knew him. He accepted me before I loved him. And I'm going to accept people that same way." It continues in 1 Timothy 1:15. They go, "Here's a trustworthy saying that deserves full acceptance." I love that. Jesus came into the world to fill in the blank, sinners. Now, how you fill in that blank changes everything about how you operate. How a church fills in that blank changes everything. Let's put it back up there. How a church, Jesus came into the world. If we think Jesus came into the world to judge sinners, well, how are we going to operate as his church? If we think Jesus came into the world to avoid sinners, then you know what we're going to do? We're going to be out there, "Hey, listen, you're not welcome. Go clean up. Go get right. And then maybe if you look like us, vote like us, talk like us, act like us, speak like us, then you can come hang with us." How you fill it in matters. Let me just show you how God fills it in. Here's a trustworthy saying that deserves full acceptance. Jesus came into the world to save sinners, of who I am one. Jesus makes this clear over and over and over again. His word resounds with this truth. He just lets it know, listen, I'm here for the needy. I'm here for the hurting. I'm here to call those that are far from me. In fact, in Mark 2:17, he just says it. Listen to this. He goes, "It's not the healthy who need a doctor, but the sick. I've not come to call the righteous, but sinners." And the word for righteous here means those who keep the commands. The religious rule followers. There's nothing wrong with that. He's talking about a certain kind that elevates the rules of a relationship. And he makes it clear. Listen, I didn't come to save those who are following all the rules. I came here for those who don't. Those are the ones that need me. If that's how Jesus operated, how should we as a church operate on his behalf? Parents, have you ever lost a child before? Have you? Have you ever experienced that absolute terrifying moment where you look around and your child is not there? Imagine I'm on a hike with Elijah and Selah. And Amy's somewhere else, and I didn't lose Amy. She's in the story. Just imagine she's at the house, okay? Terrible analogy. And on this hike, I just lose Elijah. He wanders off, and I lose him. And I call my wife, and I say, "Amy, I have some bad news. I've lost Elijah. But don't worry. Selah's right here. She's safe." Now would Amy immediately go, "Oh, okay, good. I'm just going to relax. I'm just going to focus on Selah, and that's it"? Or is Amy's attention, parents, does your attention and your emotion does it focus on the one that is lost? You see, when what was lost has incredible value, you will go to significant lengths to find them. I would leave Selah with my parents or someone else, and I would go out and find my son. I would not stop till I did, because when what is lost has value, you act on their behalf. You just do. Parents, you would understand this. You have understood this. And Jesus tells us about his father. He tells us his father will leave 99 found sheep to go find one that's lost. Because when what is lost has significant value, you will act on its behalf. You will be moved by it. He says his father is moved by compassion for the lost. And how should we? You see, we're going to be a church that takes Jesus at his word. And here's the reason. Because 90% of the valleys, from Aspen to Rifle to Redstone, 90% of our area is unchurched, doesn't believe in Jesus. And we are going to be those who invite people that don't know God yet to welcome anyone who would feel more sinner than saint. That's why we have greeters. You might have seen them. They're facing outward toward anyone who would come instead of facing inward, just to make sure we all feel good. We welcome, listen, we are so glad that everyone's here, and we're here for this. In fact, up there right now in these classrooms, our children up there. And I want to make something really clear. We don't babysit your kids. We don't have childcare. They're the future of the church. We invest heavily in them. The adults and the leaders who love them and work on their behalf, Pastor Mandy and her team, they're some of my heroes. That's the future of the church. And right now we have tender teachers who speak truth, who are looking around and seeing new children who are intimidated on their first time, and they know and they want to love them. And here's what we want. We're not going to babysit. We're not going to just take up their time. We want them to know the values of heaven and the character of God. And we want them to know Jesus. And so we have teachers up there right now helping. We are a church that is open and ready to welcome any who is showing up. And each week, people like you come into this place to find hope. And you might be one of them. You might be here for the first time going, I need something. God has blessed us as a church. And if you've been with us in this year alone, you have maybe with tears in your eyes heard the testimonies as we baptize people. Or perhaps this year you've seen maybe at Easter, but throughout this year we have had over 200 people who have declared new faith or renewed faith in Jesus. A legitimate move of God as he is drawing people in. We're a church that welcomes the one who's wanderer, the one who's returning. But God in the Orchard don't just stop there at welcoming to be a part of this church, because also we have next steps. Like Jesus would welcome people to come speak to him, but he would always call them closer. Come follow me. Come follow me. Hey, come with me. Come follow me. Come closer. And for many of you, you have stepped into small groups. You've stepped into our Thursday night worship. You've stepped into a Bible study. You're following closer. You just came to check it out, and it's been a year, and you're known, and you know people, and you're getting to know God and his word. Or maybe you've been baptized, and we've seen over 100 baptisms in this church this year alone. I mean, it's amazing to me to see what God's doing. Each time there's a baptism, my heart is moved, my spirit quickened, my eyes are full of tears, and I just feel this deep, resounding yes that wells up within me. It sounds like a celebration, and I'm reminded of Jesus' words right there in Luke 15 that we've been looking at. Listen to this. He says, when somebody who's lost, there is more joy in heaven when the one returns to God over the 99 others who were righteous and haven't strayed away. The one matters. The one matters to God, and so it matters to us. There's more joy in heaven. And so today, if you're one of those returners or the curious or the hurting or the seeking or wandering, I want to let you know, we celebrate you. And we give you margin and space to engage here. If you're here and you've already found Jesus, if you already resolved some of these, then you're part of the 99. But remember, you weren't always. At one point, you were the one. It's just at some point, you see, we get so wrapped up in the 99 gatherings that we talk about the one, forgetting that that was us. And here's the deal. When we have baptisms, when we have responses, if you're one of the 99, I want to see you celebrate along with heaven. I want us to get better as a church at celebrating when God moves in someone's life like this. Because that was you once. That was me once. And now we get to see Jesus doing it in the lives of others. And this is what I want to invite you to today. Because you've seen the baptisms, you've seen some of the impromptu baptisms, you've seen what God's done in this place. But I just, in my prayer time this last week, I just really sensed there is so many of you that are on the fence about this baptism thing. And God's calling you into this. And yeah, I know you don't want to take a bath in public in front of people. I get it. I understand. I get it. But part of it is, it's a public declaration of a private decision. And Jesus asked us to get baptized. He got baptized. So I want to ask you, as we're gonna just pull off all the breaks in November and December and baptize anyone. If you believe in Jesus, that he died and rose again, that's it. That's the red tape of the Bible. If you want to be baptized, or if you feel God moving in you in that way, I want you to sign up at one of the desks, talk to myself, talk to a pastor. We'll get you scheduled on a week. And let's continue to see God do great things. That is a huge moment. And when that happens, church, we're going to party, okay? We're going to party. We are a church, if we're a church that says we welcomes others and we're open for all the ones and that we celebrate what God celebrates, then we have to make, I'm going to say a bad word in church. One of the worst words you can ever say in church. Change. Whew. Do you know how change goes over in a church? Listen, we've been through so much. And you guys know my heart. But if we're gonna be the church God has called us to, we're gonna have to make some changes. We're gonna have to make some adjustments. Because we're gonna continue to welcome the lost and the wandering and the returning. And God's gonna continue to bring them in. And oftentimes on Sundays, as it comes and goes, often on this second service, we'll have standing room only, no room for parking, no room for kids. We've got to make room. God is trusting us to keep bringing them in. And we, the 99, we are the ones that make sure we're going to have room for them. And many Sundays, we're out of space. Told the same thing to the early church. Parking, kids, all of it. And so in January, we're launching our third Sunday service. Yeah. We are launching 3 services, and the question you're all asking is, what time? What time, preacher? 6:30 in the morning. I'm kidding. See, if I say that, now you're all happy, all right? We're gonna make room for any and everyone. And this is the service, the main service, that most of our guests come. And here's the deal. We're gonna change every service time. Because I want us all to feel the change. Every service time will change. So in 2026, you'll hear more about this as we get closer. Our 3 services will be 8:30, 10, and 11:30 a.m. And for some people, they're like, man, the early service, get me up there. I'll get out, go skiing. I'll get on with my day. You're automatic. As soon as I say that, you're like, what do you do? Oh, or oh. And you think of yourself, how do I get the kids here at 30 minutes? I can barely get them. Then you know what? 11:30 is there waiting for you. Yeah. You know what? And let's say you're a football fan and you want to get the 8:30's right there. Be done before the games. Get on the slopes, whatever it is. You know what? 11:30, sleep in, go to the smithy, roll in here, go to 11:30 church. Here's the deal. However you do it, we're going to work it out. We're going to work it out. It's going to be a hassle. It's going to be a change. It is what it is, but we're going to do this. We're going to adjust, not because we want to, but because we understand God is calling us to make room for people who were like us once. Change is hard. It can be. But if you know the reason and the purpose for the change, we step into it. And at some point, you're going to think, and you're going to hear it. You might even say it. Why do we have to do this? And I just want to go ahead and answer that question. Because at one point, people adjusted their lives for you. In this place. You were the one. You see, this church was launched in a CMC classroom on Main Street here in Carbondale, across from the Black Nugget. It was easy to find guests back then. They would just be laying around outside the next, from the night before. Can you cut that? No? Okay. This church was launched. I was a kid. I was in high school when this happened. And do you know what we would do as a family? We got to get up early and go set up. We got to get here late and tear down. And I watched as so many people would join my mom and dad on their Sunday, get here and set up kids' classes early. And then we grew and we moved into the high school, and I got to go to school 6 days a week. And people would show up early and set up and tear down. People just like you and me believed in the reality of a church in this region that was for everyone. And they sacrificially gave and served and worked. Why? For you. For us. And at some point, they sacrificed and they built this. I didn't do this. I stand on the shoulders of my dad and Charlie. I stand on the shoulders of so many people. I know people who help pound these nails, and they wrote verses all over the walls and the concrete. I know people who sweat and bled for this place to build it for you. They adjusted their lives. So now it's our turn. It's our turn, and we're going to adjust our schedules we're going to adjust our schedules in January for the one. And we're going to give generously for the one. And I want to stop and say something here, because you know me. We don't often talk money. It's not about that for us. We don't even pass a plate except for once a year, and that's to give out. So hear me on this. If you belong to the Orchard, this is the place where you say, I belong here. My kids have been baptized, I've been baptized, or we love this place, and you're not giving, I'm going to ask you to start becoming a generous person to resource the mission here. Because we have so much ahead of us and such an opportunity, such a huge calling. I'm going to ask you to step up for the one, like so many did before us, to get us to this place. And for many of us, we've come here and found life and purpose and peace and community. And out of gratitude for all that God has done here and for all that He is, I'm going to ask you to step forward and do that. For others of us, listen, we have 3 services. That means I get to preach 3 times. And as a preacher, there's nothing I love more than just talking. So it's no big for me. I mean, I've done like 5 to 8 services in my old place, okay? Now, Micah, who got a week of vacation just to consider this. No, I'm kidding. Our worship leader has some time off. She has to get a whole team for 3 services. But you think that's hard? Pastor Mandy and her team, they have a whole nother service of children to serve. And they can't teach 3 services. They need to be in here. They need to be fed. They want to come worship. They want to be a part of it. We have teachers who just give and give and give. We need them filled. So we need a whole group of people to say, you know what? They've been up there watching my kid. I'm in. Or maybe you're empty nester. Maybe you don't have kids. Listen, if you can pass a background check, very important. And you're looking for a place and a purpose. Have I got a deal for you? The future of the church awaits your service and your leadership. So I want you to see there are places for us to find where we're gifted in greeting and coffee shop and music and teaching, whatever it would be, to step in. Listen, I'm asking you, if you belong here, it's time to step up. It's time to come in. It's time to be all in and stop being a spectator and start being a participant. To stop being just part of the crowd and start being part of the committed. And so I'm going to ask you to adjust your schedule in January. We'll tell you what to make room for more. I'm going to ask you to start giving generously to resource the mission for the one. I'm going to ask you to start serving selflessly to find your purpose and place for the one. And God has been speaking to me lately and telling me about the calling of the church. And we talked about this as elders and as staff, about all that God is calling us to, the kind of church He's calling us to, and the 90% of our region that doesn't know Him yet, and that we're not okay with that. We want to be His heartbeat in this region, a place where any man, any dad, any mom, any single, any student, any kid, any empty nester, any retired person looking for a new place, anyone can step into our doors and find a home, find community, and find a church that believes Jesus at his word and stands on it and proclaims him. That's who we're gonna be. A gathering of people who are real and authentic. So here's what I want you to do today. I want you to take your box, Operation Christmas Child. I want you to get as many more as you want. I want you to have fun with that, knowing that you're sending good news around the globe. I want you to be looking forward to and preparing to connect and serve and give when it comes to the third service. And finally, I want you to look at your baptism and what God's asking you to do this year to solve in 2025. What is God asking you to step into? It could be the baptism of water. And finally this, the church is not a building. There is nothing sacred about this. And if this burned tonight, the Orchard would continue on mission. This place is not sacred. I let kids run in here. I let stuff go crazy because I was a pastor's kid. I ran. Our kids should have fun. But there's nothing sacred about this wood, paint. It's the people. We are the people of God. We are the embodiment of his mission and purpose. And wherever you work, you're not employed, you're deployed. Whoever you're, maybe it's your spouse, maybe it's your family, maybe it's people you recreate with. You know the ones. And I will never maybe preach to them. I will never go to your work and go, can I tell you about Jesus? Can I invite you to church? That would be very weird. But you can invite them. And we have a very simple sentence. Hey, come sit with me this Sunday. Hey, will you come sit with me this Sunday? I'll save a seat for you. I want you to step into this mission. And many of you have. I know many of you have just invited everyone you know. I want you to continue to trust what God's doing here and to invite all the ones in your life to be a part of this. And as we end in this song is called I Speak Jesus. And it's a song for us to sing over you. Because for many of us, we're in a place where we have great need and we want Jesus to speak over us. But also, church, Orchard, those of you who say, listen, I've resolved my faith in Jesus and I'm in. This is a song for us to sing that we declare Jesus to our region. From the mountaintops and the office and the coffee shops, on the ski slopes, wherever it would be, that our life speaks Jesus by how we live and how we love. That when we say we love God and love people, we don't just wear the t-shirt, we live that. That's who we are as a church. And this is who we're gonna be. I'm so excited for what God has for us. So let's sing this song. And if you wanna come take communion at one of our stations and go back to your chair, if you're here and you have a need that you want us to pray for you for, we're gonna have pastors up here, pastors over here, prayer team. We wanna pray for you. But let's stand and let's worship the God. Let's worship Jesus who speaks into our lives and our community. Amen.